Tried and Blue, a play on the phrase tried and true, the Erland Tried and Blue blog and podcast covers past and current successes that prove how effective and reliable our construction management services are. Welcome to the Tried and Blue podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Harrison. Today, I'll be talking with three members of our Advanced Technology and Life Sciences team as a follow-up to our June podcast. Chuck is here to moderate, and Clay and Kevin will join him to answer questions that came up after our last podcast regarding CoLab Solutions, which is our new collaborative lab and cGMP-focused service that we launched earlier this year. But before we get started, Clay, Kevin, and Chuck, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Go ahead, Clay.
My name's Clay Hennessy. I'm a project manager here at Erland. I've been here for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I was at a smaller GC doing a lot of lab work, and before that I was a carpenter. Outside of work, I love to ride motorcycles and love working with my hands, so as a hobby I picked up woodworking.
Oh, awesome. And Kevin, go ahead.
My name is Kevin Coyle, Senior Project Manager here at Erland Construction. I've been here for a little over 3 years. Outside of work, I'm married. I have 3 boys, a dog, a cat. Live in a nice neighborhood up in southern New Hampshire. Spend a lot of time down at the beach down in Salisbury in the summertime. A little bit of time in Naples in the winter. Spend some time golfing, and then spend a lot of time with the wife and kids.
Very nice. And Chuck.
So I'm Chuck Vaciliou, and I started at Erland in 1977. I'm going on 45 years here. I've had many roles along the way, from PM to project executive, group manager, director of operations, BD. Right now I'm on my downside. I'm trying to slow down and hopefully retire at some point, but I'm functioning as an account exec, doing some BD, and a mentor to a few people. On the personal side, I'm active in the industry. I was on the board of directors at the AGC for a number of years, and also the board of advisors at Wentworth Institute, which I enjoyed very much. And like Clay, I'm a motorcycle fanatic, and I also work for 2 veteran support groups. One's the Rolling Thunder. I'm on the board of directors there, and I'm also on the board of directors and treasurer of the Boston Vet Run. So any of you guys that live on the North Shore, if you saw a bunch of bikes riding by this weekend, that was us raising money. So it's all for a good cause.
Thanks for letting us get to know you all a little bit better. Now let's take that a step further. Clay, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So when I was a kid, I actually wanted to be a firefighter. I grew up in Stowe, Massachusetts, which is where the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy is. So it was always interesting to see them burning the buildings and in training. And I knew that, with a degree, you're going to go further than if not. So I went to Wentworth at night as I worked as a carpenter. And my intentions were to come out and join the Boston Fire Department, and then somehow fell in love with construction along the way. Here I am.
And we're happy you're here. And Kevin, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be like every other young boy's dream was to play baseball for the rest of my life. But that came to an end somewhere around high school and college. While in college, I was working at an engineering firm, so I was going to school to do survey. Finished up that, and then went into heavy civil work. But growing up, I did take a lot of things apart, put it back together, and I did like putting puzzles together. And it seemed like this was the next step, construction, just bigger Lego sets and Erecta sets coming into construction.
It all comes full circle. And Chuck.
So I wanted to be an astronaut, and I went to school for mechanical and aerospace engineering, and when I graduated, NASA was defunded and Boeing was laying people off, and 25 years service people at Boeing were working at McDonald's, so I think I said it's time for a career change, and I went into construction, and I love every minute of it.
All right, let's jump into today's discussion. I'm now going to hand the mic over to Chuck to moderate.
So Clay, Kevin, you guys are working on a great project. You're working on 100 Forge in Ashland Yards for the Boylston properties. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's 180,000 square foot core and shell. It's a 60-40 lab split, and currently we're up on 8th floor structural steel. At the moment, it's one level of parking below. We have the lobby fit out, penthouse, and then all the infrastructure work in between.
Yeah, this is the last building that the Boylston Properties is doing over there in the Arsenal Yards area. Very tight site, very complex with logistics-wise, concrete trucks, steel trucks, glass delivery that's coming out of Colombia, South America. It's going to be a beautiful building. The tallest building is going to be in Watertown once we get completed, with some beautiful views of the city off the balconies facing east on the 6th floor and 8th floor.
Nice. So you guys mentioned core shell. What's that mean, and why are developers pursuing this type of building?
So core and shell is basically a big, bright, brand new light box for a tenant to come in and fit out. I don't know about you, Kevin. I think developers are so hot on them because to come to market with a lab-ready spec building, they can have any tenant they want move in and fit out the space they're dreaming about.
Yeah, it gives them a chance to get out in front. And when one of the tenants is needing to expand, it gives them room to expand 1 floor, 2 floors, 3 floors. We have 8 floors of lab space that we're doing here, so they could take all 8 if they needed it.
Great. So this is in Watertown. It's outside of Cambridge. Most of the life science you see in Cambridge. Why are people moving out to the burbs for these life science buildings?
Cambridge is pretty saturated. It's tough to get in and out of. Parking's a nightmare. The square foot price in Cambridge is through the roof. Short and simple is they're moving out of the city to kind of get some more real estate, and obviously there's more room to grow there. So
yeah, more space, rebuilding, renovating buildings and opening up lab space from an old retail spot or an old warehouse or something. They're just repurposing the land that they have. There's no more open space to be building new buildings and new grassy areas. They're either taking buildings down or reusing the buildings that they have already.
Great. So there's certainly a lot of challenges in the industry. In the past couple of years, things have gone upside down. Manpower availability, supply chain issues, logistics, infrastructure, trying to get electricity on time, all challenges. Clay, can you tell us a little bit about how you're dealing with subcontractors and making sure they have the manpower to meet our schedules and quality?
Yeah, so right off the bat, when we're interviewing and hiring subcontractors, we make sure they give us feedback on our schedule to make sure they have their buy-in to it. So once we have the buy-in, it's really just managing it and managing the sub and staying on top of it. We've seen manpower issues across the board, whether it's electricians or plumbers or carpenters. It's really endless. Every subcontractor has it. It's just kind of staying on top of them and making them own the schedule that they agreed to when you sign them up.
With the area we have, it's kind of saturated. A lot of our subcontractor base are stretched so thin because they're building everywhere up in the New England area, and it's an issue trying to keep on top of these guys to make sure that they're staffing.
How do you get them to your job?
Yeah, and that is it's taking care of them on the front end, doing our due diligence to make sure that they have everything they need, their shop drawings, submittals, everything turned around, approved, so they can get their orders in. Put some lead times there, but also just keeping the job moving, trying to make the job accessible for their workers to move around and make money. And that's the important thing, is letting the subs make money here and not stopping them wherever they go.
So say you solve the resource issue, you have enough guys. How are you making sure that the materials are there on time so they can be productive?
Well, that's something that we're doing with the material tracking. It's not always great, but the phone calls every week, the following up with the suppliers themselves, not just the subcontractors, going to their warehouse, checking on the material that lands there, possibly taking a trip to the facility that's manufacturing the switchgear or the lighting package or the steel. We visited the steel yard up in Quebec just to make sure they had the material there on site for us to fabricate. So it is the constant follow-up, and it's emails, it's phone calls, and then it's double and triple checking.
Trust
And it's
verified. A lot of verification.
Yeah, and you still have to trust everyone, but at some point you have to make sure they're telling you the truth.
And then we hold weekly meetings where we ask for updates and talk to the subs, and we tell them as soon as something's approved, order it, get it to a warehouse, and we'll bill us for it. We'll pay you for stored material as long as we have the insurance, the title, all that stuff. We can bill for it, and we know where it is.
It helps
Even
it
the
see-
stuff you ordered early on, like the long lead items.
Yes.
I mean, we had curtain wall come from Colombia, which was a little bit interesting. We toured the factory and saw the facility that it was coming from, and, saw how it's all put together, and told them the same thing: bill us for all the material, bill us for everything. You know where to stand. So,
and that's an interesting trip that it makes from Columbia here to Newark. Then from Newark, it's going to get on the trucks and it's going to come up here. And we only have a couple of days to get it off the trucks, get it into the building, and get the trucks going back to pick up the next round of glass.
Well,
It's
a lot of things
just
can happen in that little journey, and you got to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, you use BIM on your projects, building information modeling. What are some of the advantages of that, and how do you communicate that to you?
The amount of piping, ductwork in these lab spaces on this first floor and second floors to get everything up to the roof and then down from the roof is pretty crazy, to say the least. We've been going through the process for 4 months now. We have some stuff released. We still don't have other stuff released because it's kind of a give and take with the architect.
You say release, and what?
We have
As approved shop drawings?
approved coordination drawings.
Coordination.
So we can get everything in these floors and get everyone to move around. But some of the issues we may have is, you have 14 pipes going through a 2-foot section and it has to go through there. You can't just move the ceiling down, but that at least shows every possible way we can get around it. And then the architect does have to make some decisions whether we're going to move the floor, the roof down, by the ceiling down the 6 inches or a foot to accommodate those 14 pipes going through, or ductwork going through, and try to keep it away from doing beam penetrations on some of the beams carrying the floor above it.
it's a lot easier to move 100 feet of pipe on a computer than it is to move it once it's been installed.
Sure thing. So BIM's a nice piece of technology that has been around for a bit. But Clay, I think you're involved with the innovation committee. And what are some other pieces of technology that we're either using or you guys are investigating for future use that help move a project along and help the communications?
Yeah, so Procore is our main platform, which is nothing new to anyone. We manage all our drawings and change orders and submittals and RFIs through Procore. We use all the Microsoft Office suites from PowerPoint to Outlook to Teams and everything in between. One of the new things we got going through Innovation Technology Committee was Bridget, and that's kind of how we manage all of our manpower. So it's kind of a living online document where it has all the operations people in the company on, and you can move them and shuffle them around and see where they're over allocated. So that helps as well.
I see Procore is offering that now.
Oh yeah, so everything's integrated through Procore. But we also have an aux blue camera out there, which gives us a time lapse of the building as we go up. So it takes a photo every 10 minutes, so we can get a nice slideshow at the end of it. But we're always looking for innovation.
Good.
Where we can be more efficient.
Good. So Kevin, we're doing a core and shell. What are the advantages of the developer working directly with the base building contractor to do the TI for their tenants?
Well, most of the time we can get in a little earlier to start fitting these floors up if they come right to us. It makes it a little easier transition also to coordinate with our team that we have on the ground there and the new team we bring in to just do the fit up. The guys on the ground can't do both. It's too big. If you're doing a $60 million project, core and shell, and you're going to have a couple floors that are probably $5-10 million each, you definitely have a different team. But the benefit of having a Erland team that's the core and shell and the fit out guys is we have all the resources in here to coordinate. with the new plans coming in. Spend some time in the coordination department and make sure we aren't hitting anything that is already going to be installed for them. Sprinkler pipes, duct mains, where the switchgear is located on each floor. That helps immensely internal.
So Clay, you had mentioned earlier the definition of corner shell wide, and you mentioned speed to market. Doesn't this give a 2 or 3 months advantage by having the core and shell construction manager on a project?
Yes.
And 2 or 3 months for a lab user that wants to get some science going, that's big time.
And they can open the doors early.
Yeah.
And that just helps everyone. Helps them do whatever they got to do with within the lab, and it helps the owner bring in rent faster also.
I mean, who knows the building better than us as well? We've been working on pre-con for the past year and a half, and now we're building the building now, so we know every nut and bolt that's going into it.
So Clay, other than your trip to Colombia, what's been the most memorable moment on this project?
We did a huge concrete placement, which was pretty neat. It was 2,400 yards of concrete. It had to be poured monolithically, and it fell under a very tight spec of concrete called mass concrete, which is anything over 5 foot in thickness. You have to monitor temperatures internally, because if it goes too high, essentially it's a catastrophic failure for the concrete. So we came up with a great construction management plan all surrounded around that. We had 3 concrete pumps pumping at once, and we were putting about 250 yards of concrete into the ground an hour. So just to put that in perspective, we put nearly 300 trucks of concrete into the ground in one pour. So we opened the site at midnight, got the pumps set up, all the lights set up, all the management team there. You know, it was quite the feat to watch it all happen.
So I know you guys did a lot of prep work for that. You did plan Bs for everything. You had extra pumps, you had extra doses in case one of the forms blew out. You guys, police details, you guys did a hell of a job on that.
Yeah, to get 300 concrete trucks in and out of an active Home Depot
in the middle of the
with
night.
Roach Brothers in the middle of the night and all through the next day on a busy Saturday was quite the feat for sure. And because all that planning went smoothly, but there was a lot that could have gone wrong.
Good. So, Kevin, right now we're at a couple of floors from the topping off on the steel. What phase of construction are you looking forward to next that hasn't happened yet?
I'm looking forward to cutting the grand opening ribbon when all the glass is in.
Is that construction?
It is going to be construction. That's definitely part of it. No, I think the curtain wall system coming up is going to be really interesting. The way that building looks once the glass is going up, I mean, it's going to starting to look complete. And it's a beautiful building. That's why I'm looking forward to cutting the ribbon at the end, or watching the ribbon cut, and just standing in front of it.
Good. Well, my next question was what's happening next at Iron Forge, but I think you hit on that. Is there anything else you guys would like to say about the project?
We're working with a great team. I mean, BR+A is the engineering team, and ASG is the architectural team, and they've been great to work with. I mean,
they're really professional.
Yeah. O'Day has been really good to our
O'Day's
structural
great.
engineer too, right there when we need him.
Yeah.
And Boylston Properties has been great to deal with.
Yeah, not only this selection of Erland and Sia, but the selection of the design team was just as good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great having you on this month's podcast. Thank you for sitting down with me. Chuck, can you tell the listeners the best way to connect with you if they have any additional questions regarding today's podcast?
Yeah, just reach out, call the office, or look me up on LinkedIn, or call me. Would love to meet with you and find out what your needs are and see how we could develop a plan to help you get through them.
Awesome. That's it for today's Tried and Blue. We hope you join us next time for another exciting sit down with other Erland team members and even maybe some special guests. Keep checking our website to tune in.